sunshine.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to Coffee Thoughts Podcast. I hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a couple weeks since I made a podcast, and today I'm going to be doing something that I haven't done yet on the podcast, which is reading some of your write-in requests that you guys have submitted through my app. And but before I do that, I'd like to give you guys a couple little updates on everything. So the biggest thing that I've been working on lately, aside from the new music, is Stay Cozy. So I've been working on developing a line and kind of rebranding everything and getting everything to a point where I'm happy with it and I feel like it's a cohesive brand, which has taken a while, but I finally achieved that, and so I'm waiting on a couple other pieces to arrive so that I can release this line as one cohesive unit. So I'm gonna have jackets, socks, sweaters, beanies, a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just waiting for everything to be here so I can launch it. But my plan is to have everything done and ready by Christmas time. So if you order it, you'll have it in time for Christmas. So I'm guessing it'll be ready to launch sometime in November, and up until Christmas I'll be shipping out orders and whatnot. So I'm really excited about that because that's been a lot of work, and it's something I've wanted to do for a very long time as well. Just having like an actual kind of brand, because I've always been very all over the place with the brand itself, and not really sure exactly what I wanted to do with it. So finally got to that point. So I'm really excited about that. And also new music, it's all done. I'm basically just waiting to film the rest of my music video for the song called Frost, which I want to put out before I release the Nosebleed EP. The reason I haven't filmed it yet is because me and my buddy Micah wanted to go film in the town where they made the movie It. But when we went there, we tried twice, and the first time there was a bunch of stuff going on downtown, so it was too busy. And the second time, Hulu was filming a show, so we couldn't shoot that day. So I'm just waiting to finish that, and then going to toss together a little music video for that, and then Nosebleed EP is all done, and I'm guessing that'll be dropping in November. That's my plan right now. So new music is coming. But yeah, ultimately I think just lately I've kind of been like really I've been working on a lot of stuff at once. And sometimes that causes me to just like, get a little bit overwhelmed, but like disconnect from doing things like the podcast or live streaming, because I just get so focused on like what I'm doing on my own time. It's just like ebbs and flows, and if you follow me, you know that I kind of go through that. But it feels good to sit down and make a podcast again, because it has been a couple weeks. So what I'd like to do, guys, is read some write-in requests. I mentioned that I added a section to the SayWeCanFly app where you can write in. I wanted to start reading people's actual stories and questions on the podcast. I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to keep everything anonymous, obviously, but yeah, so I got a lot, actually quite a few write-ins, so I'm probably going to go over like 3 or 4 today. I just thought it'd be cool to answer questions more like directly than just talking about topics. So this is the first one that I wanted to go through today. I'm just going to read it word for word and kind of just go off of that. So this person said, "I've been struggling recently with trying to figure out my place in the world. In the words of Sweeney Todd, there's 2 kinds of men and only 2. There's the one staying put in his proper place and the one with his foot in the other one's face." Great movie, great quote. Obviously I know there's more than 2 types of people, but I'm still really struggling to find where I'm supposed to be and identify with. Do you have any advice for me or others who are struggling with this? Yes, I think I do. But first I want to say that I struggle with that too, and I feel like a lot of us do. And I think kind of what ends up happening, at least from my experience, is you go through a point where you are feeling that way, and then you hit a wave where you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And for some people that lasts for a long time. For some people it only lasts maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple days, maybe a couple months. I don't know, but I know that is always, for me at least, is always kind of changing, and it's frustrating at times when you don't know exactly what your direction is. And I think for me, like, what I've noticed is that just like you just go through periods like that where you don't really know what you're doing, and you have to almost in a way just embrace that and not try to figure it out, because I think to go through those periods and to feel those things it does help you down the road to understand what your path actually is, even if you don't feel that at the moment. Or you know what, I think too, it's like sometimes that's just telling you that you're thinking too much, or that you're trying to have too much control in your life, and trying to figure everything out, which you don't always need to do. And I know as humans we always want to kind of logically be like, all right, what am I doing, how am I doing it, A to B, linear kind of timeline, and we all think that way. But I think sometimes when you start to feel those things, it's also, it could be just the universe telling you like, yo, take a step back, let go, let me do my thing, and just trust that life is going to flow for you. And sometimes it can really feel like you're stuck, it really can. And I know what that's like, to feel like you're stuck, and to wake up and be like, what am I doing, why am I doing this? And you can kind of fill your day with certain things, but ultimately sometimes you go to bed and you're like, what am I doing? Does it mean anything? And I think like, sometimes you just have to show up. You just have to show up. You have to wake up. You got to face the day. If you don't, you don't have to know every answer right now. You don't need to figure it all out right this second. You got to keep showing up. And I feel like that's the key. Even if it takes like months or even years to like push through that patch of your life, and to finally feel again like you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. You just got to keep showing up. And I think that's the key. And I also think too, you mentioned you're looking for something to identify with. I think part of what can help you create some kind of inner peace is not identifying with your situation or your life story or your environment. Just try to approach things from more of an observational standpoint, and just kind of like embody that knowing that's underneath all that stuff, that's just kind of watching it happen, at least for a little bit, until you find something that you resonate with in a situation that you resonate with. Don't get too attached to how you feel right now, and just kind of let it happen. I know it can be frustrating, trust me, I know, but I think ultimately just life is peaks and valleys, and sometimes the valleys can be deep, and sometimes the mountains can be super high, and you just never know. You just got to keep going, keep showing up, and that's kind of what I think about that. All right, so the second write-in I got here. I've been struggling oh no, I already read that one. So the second write-in I have here is, I recently dropped out of high school because I was 2 years behind because of a situation I had no control over, and I'm trying to keep in contact with a few of my friends. I'm aware that people come and go in life, but it's hard when your best friend just up and suddenly decides that she won't talk to you because she doesn't agree with who you love, and she thinks you need to rethink your life. Anyway, if you read this far, thank you, and I was hoping that you could address people starting over and losing people they thought would be there for them. Yeah, that's a big one, man. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. The most valuable thing that you can, I think, understand in your life, and I think you can apply this to any area, man. Like, there's so many situations, is that you can't, no matter what you do, you can't control what other people do or think or say. You can't. Even as much as you might think like what you're doing is wrong, and like you have no reason to do this, you have no clue why they're doing what they're doing, what caused them to make those decisions. Even if you think you understand their thought process, you don't, because they're completely separate, consciousness with their own life and their own beliefs and their own everything. And you can't even be, sometimes you just don't understand, and sometimes you just have to realize that. And, you have to not allow that kind of thing to determine your happiness and your path, because that's part of, I think, what kind of plays into like victim mentality, and I made a whole episode about that. But if you continue to allow, people, even if you were close to them, even if, they were supposed to be there for you, like you have to just understand that like you don't have control over those things. All you have control over is how you react to those things, and how you react to the way people treat you and the way people talk to you and what they do. You can't control what they do. You can control how you react to that. So if you're in a position where you feel like you're allowing that to shake you up and to throw you off, you have to just take a step back and realize, you know what, I still have all my strength, I still have all my free will, I still have all my everything, and I just have to accept that like I can't control what they do or what they think, and you have to just move on. You have to detach from that, and you have to just continue to focus on yourself. And I think sometimes, like, if people, someone that is really close with you or that you really care about, decides like I can't be in your life anymore, maybe don't feel like it's your fault, but like maybe at least kind of pay attention to that. It's like maybe there is something that you're doing, or a way you've been acting, or something in your life that is pushing people away. And I think it is important sometimes to at least just kind of like pay attention to those things if it's somebody that you really care about and trust, and their opinion actually matters to you. Because I think too, it's like sometimes, like, you know, I've been through, you know, periods in my life where I've kind of just turned into somebody that I really don't want to be, and you don't realize it happening. And, you know, I didn't realize till later, like, how I was acting toward people that I loved and people that cared about me, and just kind of pushing them away. And it's easy when you're in that position to just justify it to yourself and pretty much deny it to yourself that you are maybe, you know, being somebody that you could work on. So maybe just really think about that, and maybe ask yourself, like, okay, you know, is there something that I could work on? Or maybe this person's somewhat right, or maybe, you know, their feelings have some kind of grounding, or, you know what, maybe they're just being ridiculous and I don't understand it. And if that's the case, you just gotta move on, man. And that's, I think, one of the most valuable things you can do in this life, is get to a point where it doesn't matter what people do or say or think. You're still going to keep doing what you're doing, because that's I think how you attract the right people too. Because if you put off that vibe, man, of like, I'm going to do my own thing regardless of what you think or do, it's like you're gonna have the right people fuck with you, and the right people in your life. But if you're someone who's like, oh, you did this, and like always blaming your state of being on other people, you're not gonna attract the right kind of people, and you're always gonna kind of feel like a victim and feel helpless, and it's just not good. So I think just try to work on that. Try to be aware of that if you can. So let's go to the next one. So the next one I'm actually I'm really interested in talking about. So this one was about addiction, kind of like food addiction specifically. So this was, I realized that depression and medications can cause weight gain, but also as an empath, some of us eat because eating helps us block negative energy. Theory being that the fatter you are, the harder it is for you to absorb energy. But being overweight hurts mentally and physically. Can you talk about, 1, ways to lose weight, number 2, healthier alternatives to those sugary/salty snacks people crave when they're depressed, and 3, a healthier alternative other than eating to help with what I call energy releases. Okay, so number 1, I'm going to speak on this from a place of, I at one point in my life was overweight and very unhappy with how I felt and how I looked. And so I'm going to speak from the point of, like, at one point I would consider myself to have been in that kind of position of, you know, because I feel like the whole weight thing's relative. Like, how, you know, skinny to somebody could be completely different to someone else, and you know, an ideal weight to you could be different than it is to me. So at one point I felt like I was really overweight. And I think what can happen, because I've never heard of that, like, energy thing, maybe I just need to research it, but I think sometimes you can, when you're unhappy with yourself, you can kind of make things up to justify it, you know what I mean? Like, I remember for me it was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna try to quit smoking. I would try to quit smoking like every 2 weeks, but it's like, you know what, I'm quitting smoking, so I'm just gonna eat a bunch of pizza and eat a bunch of bullshit and like drink, because I'm giving up one vice, so I'll just fill it's okay if I do the other things, and I would just make shit up to kind of justify things to myself. It's like, you know, it's okay that I'm doing this, when ultimately, no, it's not. And I think sometimes you got to deal with it. But you know what, I think with food specifically, because that's like one thing for me. It's like, man, I fucking love food, dude, and that's why I go to the gym all the time, and I constantly am just working out. I'm constantly just like making sure to stay active, because like I love food, and like you know, exercising, going to the gym, it does help me not want to eat shitty food as much. And I'm pretty damn good with it, like, compared to how I used to be. And I think compared to a lot of people, like, I've really trained myself to not, like, you know, eat shit all the time. But man, it's like it's a part of life, dude. Food is fucking amazing, and it's like, it's a pleasure, and it's something that as humans, like, biologically, we're designed to, like, just want to eat a lot of, you know, to survive. So I think it can be one of the hardest things to kick. But I think addiction, like, overall, no matter what it is, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, food, kind of stems from the same underlying issue, which is kind of this, like, void, or this kind of feeling of, like, trying to fill something in, even if you don't realize that's what you're doing. I think sometimes that's kind of what's happening. It's just kind of like, you know, if you were truly, like, at peace with yourself and at peace with how you felt, like, you know how, like, binge eating makes you feel. It makes you feel like shit. And for me, it's like, it makes me feel like shit for like 2 or 3 days sometimes. Like if I ate like a shit ton of pizza or something, which I used to do, like it would make me feel like shit for like 3 days. And it's like if I was truly happy with my state, would I want to consciously do that to myself? No. So like there's something else going on that's like causing me, like I need this hit, I need this fucking hit of like dopamine and like pleasure. I don't care about how I feel later, and I think that's kind of that's like really ultimately what it is. So I think you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what is the underlying thing that's causing me to feel like I need to run to something else to get this hit of pleasure? Like, what am I lacking, like spiritually? What am I lacking, like within myself, that like I feel the need to fill that void with, literally with like food or with something else, like. So I think kind of you have to just kind of look past the form of the addiction for a second and just kind of like maybe just reflect on yourself and like where you're at and like what's going on inside of you, because that's, I think, the cause of a lot of things. Because like when I'm on a good flow in my life, like energy wise, like I don't want to do that shit. I don't even think about that shit. Like if you think of patches like where you're like really excited about your life, you're working hard on something, it's like you don't really like think about like, oh, I'm craving this, I need to do this. You're kind of just more, you have your energy focused on like the good things that you know are gonna make you feel good. So I think it's more of like an underlying problem, I would guess. But you know, when you're in that place, man, of especially being overweight, like talking about that specifically, or just like feeling like you need to lose weight, that's a hard place to be, because not only do you feel it, like when you look at yourself, you see it, and it's one of those things that you can't correct automatically. You can't correct in a minute, you can't correct in an hour. It takes time, and that's one of the hardest things, because you just constantly see it and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. So it just kind of, you keep setting yourself back. And it can be a hard thing to overcome, but you can do it. You know, you can, and I think you have to think about like, who's the person I want to be, you know, in every aspect of my life. You know, how I look, how I feel, what I'm doing. Like, you got to keep that person in your mind all the time, and realize that if you take action every single day, you eventually become that person, you know. And I look back at myself during that time, like I don't even know who that person was. I wouldn't even want to know that person, because that was just so far from my, I guess, just like how I truly, you know, wanted to feel, like how I feel like I had underneath all that. But so compared to that person now, it's like two different people, but I had to work my ass off to become that person, and to shed that skin, so to speak, literally too. But as far as like actually losing weight, and I stand by this, a lot of people have different opinions, and I'm not here to argue about it. I just know what's worked for me and what's worked for a lot of my friends, is intermittent fasting. That's something that I've been doing for I think over 3 years now, which is basically just, you know, eating in an 8-hour window every day and fasting for at least 16 hours every single day. I've been doing that for a long time. And even if I go through periods where I overeat for a week, it doesn't really affect it as much as it would if I was just like, you know, eating all day every day. But you know, I think a lot of losing weight is mindset. I think your body responds to your mindset and your vision of yourself. And if you're constantly, you know, telling yourself that you're fat and telling yourself that you're overweight, and that's your, you know, what you're identifying with, you're going to be stuck there, and it might be a lot harder for you to get to that point. So I would recommend like listening to some like self-hypnosis stuff, or just kind of, you know, making sure to stand in front of the mirror and like envision the person that you want to be, because I think your mindset can have a huge impact on your results. But you also got to know it's going to take time, but you can do it. And I think like if you give yourself 3 months, I think that's a good time frame. If you really work your ass off for 3 months, like really do it, then you're gonna see huge results in 3 months. And so I would say the biggest thing is like, you know, for losing weight, you just gotta stay at a calorie deficit. That's all you gotta do. And I'm not gonna sit here trying to explain that to you. You can Google it, but I'm telling you right now, that is all you have to do to lose weight. Stay at a calorie deficit. That's all you gotta do. So if you wanna know how to do that, Google it, watch some videos. It's not that hard to figure out how to do. And going to the gym, exercising does help a lot. So anyway, and healthy alternatives. Nuts are great. Peanuts, almonds, cashews. Seaweed snacks I like those. Like, try to eat things that like are less calorie dense, because they'll fill you up more, and you won't be like skyrocketing your calorie intake. So, you know, just take your time with it. Don't stress about it. Just take it day by day, and you'll be fine. So that was pretty long going on that whole thing, but I know that can be a struggle, so I wanted to talk about it. Alright, so I think this is probably the last one I'm going to do, and I have a whole bunch, so I'm going to try to get through a couple of these every week. And this one is, I've recently lost my grandma, who was like a mother to me, in July. She passed away from a disease in her lungs. She fought for 6 years. She was also there for me when I was dealing with my depression. She shaped and influenced my life, and it's so hard without her here. She taught me how to bake, cook, see, and much more. I feel like it's dark here without her, like I used to see in color, and now it's black and white. I really thought she was going to make it and come back home. Do you have any tips for dealing with loss? I could really use some. First of all, I'm sorry that you're going through that. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. You know, I think with loss, like especially when it comes to a person, it's like there's no fix for that, you know, unless you're like absolutely fucking spiritually enlightened to the point where like you don't identify with anything or any forms, and you're like, it's just, dude, it's something that's hard to go through as a human. It's like, no matter who you are, you know, I think it's gonna affect you, and it's like you know, your life is never the same. A lot of times in life, like when we have a situation that throws us off, a lot of times we can kind of like correct it or bounce back from it. But it's like, dude, when you lose a person, your life is never going to be the same again, and that's a hard thing to accept, because you know, like no matter what you do, you can't change it. So I think the only thing you can do, honestly, the only answer to that is number one, allow yourself to go through that pain, allow yourself to go through the emotions of everything that comes with loss, because you have to. It's part of how you process it and deal with it. So don't feel like you need to make yourself feel better right away, because it's not going to work. Allow yourself to go through it. Allow yourself to cry, to yell, to scream, to be angry, to be upset. Allow it all. I think once you hit that point of acceptance, which comes with time, you know, you wake up and you realize, you know what, like this is my life. I miss this person, you know, they're not here, but like I have their memory, I have their energy, and they're always going to be a part of who I am, and you can kind of be at peace with that. And I know it can take a long time, and I think sometimes like there's a part of you that is never the same, you know, after that. But that's something that like is part of, like, you know, I think the process of you know, becoming who you are. You know, you have to go through those challenges and those trials, and you have to go through that pain in order to grow, you know, as a spiritual being and as a soul, if you want to call it that. And I think just, you know, you have to just allow time to do its thing, and I think that's the only answer really, is like you have to, like, that's, you know, that's how we heal, is time, and we can't force it, we can't rush it, and you know, we're all gonna have to deal with that stuff in our lives, and it's you know, it's hard, but you know, we all have to go through it, and that's part of what makes life beautiful, in my opinion, is the impermanence of it. Because, you know, it's just, you think, man, if everything lasted forever, it would have literally no meaning, absolutely no meaning. Because, you know, I think it's the absence of life that implies life, and you can't have life without the absence of it, you know. Otherwise there would just be one thing, we wouldn't even be able to recognize it, because we have nothing to contrast it with. And I think it's so important to understand those things, and Alan Watts is one of my favorite philosophers. If you want to kind of understand those ideas a little bit more, listen to some of his speeches and lectures, because they're absolutely incredible. And I think it's so helpful to just be okay with that and realize, like, duality is what gives this life meaning, and what allows us to experience any of it, and what allows us to experience the good parts. And we always take for granted the shitty things that happen, and we think that they suck and they shouldn't happen, but like, they have to happen, because if they didn't, we would never feel anything. We would never feel happy, we would never feel love, nothing, because we wouldn't know what that is. We only know what it is because we know what it isn't. And I think it's just so important to be okay with that, and appreciate, you know, the mountains in life more when you, after, you know, you go through the valleys, and just try to accept it all, because it's so important to do. And I know it's not an easy thing to do, but you have to just let time do its thing, and talk to people, you know, talk to people about it. If you're feeling like you really have a lot going on inside, talk to people, and you know, just keep going, man. That's really, I think, the only thing you can do in this life is just fucking keep going. When you feel lost, when you feel, you know, tired, confused, fucking keep going. Just keep going. Like, what else are you gonna do, you know? I think it's always worth it just to show up, and you just never know what's gonna happen. So, yeah. Thank you guys for writing in, by the way. I appreciate you, like, opening up with all that stuff. And there's a lot of questions and stories that I'd like to get to. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to do a couple of these, like maybe every week, maybe every other week, because I do have some topics that I'd like to talk about as well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Again, I apologize that sometimes, you know, I go a week or a couple weeks without making an episode. But yeah, it feels good to make an episode again, and getting excited for Halloween, getting excited for Christmas time. Yeah, I'm really excited to launch Stay Cozy, and I really hope you guys dig it. I want to say thank you to everyone who has just like bought my merch on Depop, because I've been using that for quite a while. Like, you guys, it really means a lot, and everybody has been so like supportive on there, and the reviews have been like just awesome, and it really means a lot. I just want to say thank you to people who have, you know, given me a chance with shipping merch myself and everything on Depop, and, you know, kind of building that trust again. It's really meant a lot to me to be able to do that, and to actually be able to ship everything myself. Anyway, that's gonna be awesome. And new music, I got a lot of songs coming, 12 songs on the albums, and then one song before that, so that'll be cool. And yeah, I'll be touring next year, don't know when, but I will for sure, and I want to get back out there and just hang out with you guys again. I fucking miss it. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, Gentlemen Stoners, we're still working on the fifth episode. It's turned into like almost a fucking movie. Like, it's turned into a massive episode, and it's gonna be sick. I have like a whole everything that we filmed I have edited, but we wrote a musical number, and we've written some other little parts that we have to shoot still. But it'll be out as soon as we can get it done for you guys, and I really hope you enjoy it, because it's definitely I think our best. Well, I know it's our best work, and it's quite the episode. So check out the Gentlemen Stoners when it comes out, and I hope you guys all have a great day, night, whatever. Make sure to subscribe, hit that sub button, give it a little thumbs up, and I will see you guys next week on the podcast. I love you, stay cozy, and